Theresa Caputo's startling admission. The Long Island medium actress incarcerated her ex-husband Larry. Theresa Caputo, the prominent figure from the television series Long Island Medium, recently astonished all by testifying in court and disclosing significant information regarding her ex-husband, Larry Caputo. Theresa explicitly testified in court that Larry has a prolonged history of drug use and is engaged in this illicit enterprise. The court responded promptly following Theresa's declaration. The judge, after evaluating all the evidence including Theresa's testimony, imposed a sentence of 6 years of imprisonment on Larry. All individuals in the courtroom were astonished by Theresa's audacious action and the subsequent developments. Former admirers of the couple are now contemplating how their relationship could have concluded in such a sad manner. Theresa's audacious action has ignited fervent discourse on social media, with some deeming it a triumph for justice, while others characterize it as a lamentable depiction of a fractured relationship. The courtroom was silent, uncannily quiet, not due of the environment, but because of the individual position that the witness stand. Theresa Caputo, the esteemed Long Island medium recognized for her voluminous hair, glittering nails, and extraordinary capacity to communicate with the deceased, now stood under oath, her hands quivering slightly, yet her eyes radiated determination. Her former spouse, Larry Caputo, occupied a seat across the room. Once her companion in both life and notoriety, Larry now appeared pallid and vacant, the vitality long absent from his typically certain demeanor. He averted his gaze from her. For years, their admirers revered them, a pair anchored in affection, wit, and common aspirations. However, circumstances proceeded to deteriorate following their separation. Rumors disseminated. Theresa consistently dismissed it, stating, "We simply grew apart." However, it was not the complete truth. Far from it. The initiation occurred with nocturnal communications. Unfamiliar individuals contacting Theresa, asserting they had encountered Larry in the most unforeseen locations, dilapidated motels, dubious areas, and establishments where his identity was unknown yet his product was widely recognized. Initially, Theresa disregarded the rumors. Larry would never, she reassured herself. Subsequently, a woman in her early 30s paid a visit. She requested a private reading. Theresa engaged in her customary preparations, meditation, grounding, and intention setting. However, what she observed during that session transformed everything. "I am not present for the deceased," the woman ultimately confessed, tears streaming down her face. "I am present because Larry Caputo supplied my brother with the drugs that resulted in his death." Theresa experienced a profound sense of despair. Spirits frequently presented her with profound truths, however this was intimate. Motivated by anguish, bewilderment, and an unusual sense of obligation to the truth, to justice, and possibly to herself, Theresa conducted her own investigation. What she discovered was incontrovertible. Larry was not merely utilizing. He was disseminating. He excelled at concealing his actions, until now. Confronting him was the most challenging endeavor she had ever undertaken. In the kitchen of her Long Island residence, she inquired of him directly, "Are you engaged in illicit trade?" She murmured. Larry remained unresponsive. It was unnecessary for him to do so. Theresa's words reverberated across the chamber. "Indeed, I cherished him. I had faith in him. However, I also hold a conviction in adhering to ethical principles. Individuals are perishing. Families are disintegrating. I cannot remain passive while the guy I once loved becomes the cause of another's loss." The judge attentively listened. Evidence was submitted, including text messages, surveillance footage, and testimonials. It was indisputable. Larry's counsel attempted to depict a narrative of addiction, portraying a man who is lost and shattered following his divorce. However, it proved insufficient. The court adjudicated in favor of Theresa. 6 years. That constituted the statement. Social media proliferated. Some lauded Theresa as a hero, courageous, truthful, virtuous. Others lamented the decline of a formerly illustrious pair, alleging her treachery. However, Theresa stayed silent for a period. Several weeks later, during a broadcast interview, she finally addressed the matter. I engage with spirits daily. I perceive their remorse, their communications, their admonitions. It is often advised not to procrastinate in undertaking the correct course of action. I could no longer disregard the indications. Larry selected his course. I choose my own. Larry spends his term discreetly, out of the public eye. Theresa persists in her endeavors, healing, assisting, and now advocating against addiction and drug trafficking. She frequents treatment centers, collaborates with victims' families, and utilizes her position to promote spiritual and social awareness. In private, she occasionally weeps. However, when she listens intently, when the barrier is fragile, she perceives the murmurs. Nonetheless, on a cool, rainy afternoon in upstate New York, Theresa Caputo, the esteemed Long Island medium, got a poignant letter in the mail. The message originated from a bereaved mother, Emily Rhodes, who had recently lost her 12-year-old son, Liam, to a rare degenerative illness. The letter did not request an interpretation. It only conveyed a narrative of sorrow, remorse, and a choice from which Emily could no longer evade. I grasped his hand as the machines decelerated. The letter stated, I was the individual who executed the documents. I provided him solace. Although I now grapple with the uncertainty, did I make the correct decision? Theresa seldom journeyed without an invitation, however something in Emily's words resonated deeply within her. She understood that this beyond mere comfort, it pertained to the healing of a mother whose spirit was ensnared in a state of limbo between love and remorse. She contacted Emily. Emily resided in a secluded farmhouse enveloped in tranquility, absent of pets or children's laughter, only the resonance of nature and melancholy. Upon Theresa's arrival, Emily welcomed her with fatigued eyes and quivering hands. I am uncertain as to the reason for your arrival, Emily murmured. No message can reverse my actions. Perhaps not, Theresa responded softly, but there may be something you need to hear from someone who remains with you in spirit. They were seated together in Liam's bedroom. The room remained undisturbed. Dinosaur posters adorned the walls, a frayed teddy bear lay on the pillow, and an incomplete Lego spaceship occupied the desk. Emily surveyed her surroundings, her eyes brimming with tears. Theresa shut her eyes. Immediately, she had a surge of energy coursing through her. The atmosphere altered. He has arrived, she stated gently. He is displaying his preferred blanket, cerulean, indistinct, accompanied by stars. Emily inhaled sharply. He continued to sleep with it every night, even after he outgrew it. Theresa smiled softly. He wishes to convey that you bestowed to him the most profound gift, tranquility. He states that the discomfort became intolerable towards the conclusion. He was unwilling to remain for you, yet he was unable to breathe. He desires for you to cease attributing blame to yourself. Emily experienced a breakdown. I executed the do not resuscitate order. I permitted them to deactivate the machines. What type of mother behaves in such a manner? Theresa hesitated, then grasped her hand. A mother who prioritizes love above fear. A mother who attentively listens while her child is too fatigued to articulate. Liam asserts that you perceived him, despite others not doing so. The session intensified. Theresa commenced expressing profound emotions, articulating sentiments exclusively familiar to Liam. He states, Inform mother that I recall the tale of the moonlight bears. I was not scared that night, as I was convinced they were anticipating my arrival. Emily wept, nearly falling. That was the final bedtime narrative I recounted to him. I fabricated it to alleviate his fear. He claims the bears approached him, Theresa stated, her voice quivering. He was not solitary. He desires for you to accept that notion. He wants for you to exist. As the energy diminished, the room became more illuminated. Emily surveyed her surroundings, perceiving a shift. Her sorrow remained, yet the guilt had dissipated, akin to morning mist evaporating in sunlight. As Theresa was about to depart, Emily embraced her firmly. You conversed not only with Liam, she stated. You temporarily restored him to me. And you assisted me in ultimately releasing him. Theresa smiled, wiping away a tear. Liam was the one who wished for you to be informed. He selected tranquility for himself, and now for you. As she departed, Theresa gazed at the overcast sky and murmured, "Another mother freed from her affection." This work fundamentally concerns that. Nonetheless, the subdued hum of the air conditioning was the sole sound in the room as Rosie O'Donnell sat opposite Theresa Caputo, her hands delicately folded in her lap, her eyes reflecting both anxiety and optimism. Years had elapsed since Rosie publicly disclosed the profound anguish she bore, a loss that formed her identity, defined her existence, and accompanied her through every phase of life. Theresa, characterized by her voluminous hair and vibrant demeanor, sat opposite her, eyes shut, fingers subtly twitching as the connection initiated. "A woman is advancing," Theresa remarked quietly, her voice lowering. "She is boisterous, akin to you. She possesses a humorous disposition. She instructs me to convey to my friend to cease being excessively critical of herself." Rosie's eyes immediately filled with tears. "Is this your mother?" Theresa inquired. Rosie nodded slowly, her voice faltering. "Indeed, that is her." Theresa exhibited a smile. "She is demonstrating a kitchen to me. She claims she would dance while cooking and asserts that you would laugh and label her as insane." Rosie laughed amidst her tears. "Oh my God, she performed that ritual every Sunday. She would prepare pasta and listen to vintage records. She would seize the wooden spoon and sing as if it were a microphone." Theresa's tone became increasingly kind. "She is revealing the moment you grasped her hand just prior to her passing." She stated, "I experienced that. I experienced no fear. I was aware of your presence, darling." Rosie, inundated with emotion, succumbed to tears. "I have consistently pondered whether she was aware. I was uncertain whether she had already departed." "She was aware," Theresa stated emphatically. "She wishes to discuss a locket. She claims you own an item belonging to her, specifically her photograph." Rosie extracted a little, golden heart-shaped pendant on a slender chain from her shirt. Theresa smiled once more. She states, "I appreciate you for that. I accompany you daily. I whisper to you at moments of silence. However, you do not consistently heed my words." Rosie chuckled, dabbing her eyes. "That resembles her." The atmosphere in the room transformed. Theresa abruptly positioned her hand over her heart. "There is additionally a young man present," she stated cautiously. "He is exceedingly reticent. He is emotionally perceptive. He states that you are unable to bid farewell." Rosie was perplexed momentarily, then comprehension emerged. "My acquaintance, Billy. He committed suicide during his college years. I never attained closure." Theresa acquiesced with a slight nod. "He asserts that it was not your culpability. You were his beacon during numerous bleak times. He wished to avoid imposing on you and regrets departing in that manner. He asserts that he has ultimately discovered tranquility." Rosie's voice was a murmur. "He was akin to a brother to me. He asserts his knowledge. He has been observing you. He takes pride in your development. All the promotion. All the affection. He recognizes that you selected all the confrontations for valid reasons." Rosie sat in silence for an extended while, her soul evidently digesting a torrent of emotions, memories, and affirmation. Theresa ultimately remarked, "Rosie, they all merely desire for you to survive. Not merely endure. Not solely employment. However, exist. Chuckle. Affection. Inhale deeply and recognize that you are never solitary." Rosie rose, approached, and embraced Theresa, tears continuing to cascade softly. "Thank you. I was unaware of how much I required this." Upon exiting the Long Island studio into the afternoon sunlight, Rosie experienced a sense of lightness in her heart. The sorrow remained, however it now possessed form and articulation, and it experienced tranquility. She gazed at the sky, clutching the locket against her chest. "I understand you, Mother." Nonetheless, a tempestuous Saturday morning occurred in a quaint village adjacent to Brooklyn. The wind roared, the skies loomed, and the community center was filled with anxious energy. Within the primary gymnasium, a specialized women's self-defense class was actively underway, conducted by the esteemed instructor, Marcus DeLuca, a former Marine renowned for his resilience and skepticism towards the supernatural. The session was at its midpoint when the doors cracked open. Theresa Caputo entered, adorned in her characteristic high heels, towering blonde hair, and leopard print attire, accompanied by a sweet grin and a clipboard. Marcus elevated an eyebrow. "Are you lost, madam? This is not the yoga studio." Theresa offered a cordial shrug. "I received an invitation to this location." The spirit indicated that an individual in this room requires assistance. With urgency, a few women laughed softly, murmuring with enthusiasm. Several individuals even identified her from television. Marcus, however, continued to harbor skepticism. "This is a training session grounded in reality," he stated emphatically. "No offense, but we confront genuine threats, not imperceptible entities." Theresa smiled once again, unfazed. "Spirit constitutes a genuine threat when unresolved trauma impedes your progress." Marcus grinned smugly. "You are permitted to remain, but refrain from interrupting." The session persisted. Strikes were delivered, evasions rehearsed. However, Theresa? She remained silently in a corner, intermittently surveying her surroundings and nodding as though attuned to an inaudible conversation. Subsequently, she became immobilized. Her gaze fixed on Kayla, a reticent 22-year-old woman in the back row, who had scarcely uttered a word all morning. "Kayla," Theresa said gently, advancing nearer. "Did your brother die unexpectedly? I am hearing a name. Derek? He states that he has been attempting to contact you." Kayla's complexion became ashen. "My brother perished in a hit-and-run incident when I was 15 years old. The driver was never located." "Derek, that was indeed him." Marcus expressed his disdain by rolling his eyes. Traditional cold reading. One can encounter numerous individuals with a deceased sibling named Derek. Theresa gazed intently into Marcus's eyes. "Is that so? Why is your father, clad in his Navy uniform, standing behind you and asserting that you were mistaken for not attending the funeral?" Marcus became immobile. His visage lost all hue. None of the others present in that room were aware of his estranged father. Not even his spouse. "What did you articulate?" His voice faltered. Theresa's demeanor remained composed. "He states that he absolves you. He is aware of your anger. However, he desires you to relinquish now. You have clung to guilt as if it were a weapon." Silence descended. Subsequently, Marcus retreated gradually, clearly unsettled. "My hair is standing on end at this moment," he murmured. "I solemnly swear to God." The students observed in astonishment as the stern instructor seated down on the mat, utterly shaken. Theresa approached and delicately rested her hand on his shoulder. Even the most formidable warriors harbor concealed suffering. The spirit want to convey that you are not solitary. The remainder of the session transitioned. Kayla wept and revealed her feelings for the first time. Others recounted narratives they had never previously spoken. On that day, the self-defense class not only instructed women in physical protection but also facilitated the mending of their spirits. Upon Theresa's departure, the tempest outside had subsided. What about Marcus? He never acknowledged anything publicly. He maintained a photograph of his father in the dojo from that day onward, adjacent to the rules of battle. Nonetheless, the day in Long Island was tranquil during October. The leaves, illuminated by golden sunlight, swayed in the breeze as Theresa Caputo prepared for another private reading. The chamber emitted a subtle fragrance of lavender, while the gentle murmur of distant traffic outside served as a reminder that life persisted, even amidst the burdens of nostalgia or sorrow. Theresa readjusted her bracelets, sensing an unusual vibe in the room. She was aware that a formidable presence was approaching. The front door opened, and Emily Hart entered, a lady in her mid-30s, her eyes laden with grief and expectation. She donned a plain black cardigan and grasped a worn, discolored photograph. Theresa observed the quiver in her hands as she took a seat. "Greetings, Emily. I am Theresa," She welcomed amiably, her tone both reassuring and steady. "Are you prepared for this?" Emily silently nodded, tears beginning to accumulate. "I require assurance of his well-being. My father passed away 3 years ago unexpectedly, without a farewell." Theresa shut her eyes and inhaled deeply. She instantly had a surge of energy coursing through her. "Very well, dear. He has arrived." At this moment, Theresa stated, resting her palm on her chest. "He is presenting a wrench." Was he a mechanic or engaged in manual labor? Emily inhaled sharply. "He was an automotive technician who instructed me on oil change procedures when I was 12. Theresa grinned, her voice subtly altering as the spirit assumed control. "He asserts that you still retain the screwdriver he gifted you in your glove compartment. Although you never utilize it, you are unable to relinquish it." Emily acquiesced, tears cascading over her cheeks. "Indeed. It remains intact. I am unable to interact with it. It resembles the final fragment of him. Your father expresses pride in your decision to resign from that job last year, citing your mistreatment and his distress at witnessing your nightly tears." Emily's jaw fell agape. "I never disclosed that information. I resigned from my corporate position and commenced volunteering with children. It felt appropriate, yet I consistently questioned whether I had disappointed him by abandoning success." Theresa inclined forward, her gaze both benevolent and intense. "He states that you did not let him down. You made the most courageous decision. He is depicting you with children, reading books and laughing. He asserts, 'That's my girl. That's her essence.'" Emily emitted a sob, concealing her mouth. Her entire physique appeared to relax, as if a prolonged load was gradually being alleviated. "He is also mentioning the letter, specifically a birthday card that you never opened?" Emily averted her gaze, shaking her head in incredulity. "I discovered a card in his locker at the shop following his demise. It was directed to me, yet I was unable to summon the courage to open it." Theresa smiled softly. "He asserts that the moment has arrived. The card contains his last sentiments, composed the night prior to his demise. He possessed an awareness, in some manner. He merely wished to avoid alarming you." The room was momentarily enveloped in silence, laden with emotion. Theresa then remarked, her voice gentle yet resolute. "He states, 'I am present in every sunrise. Each time the wind caresses your face, that is me. I have never departed, dear. I never shall.'" Emily concealed her face in her hands, weeping. Yet for the first time in years, those tears provided an unusual solace, a sense of warmth, a state of tranquility. Upon departing from Theresa's residence, grasping the snapshot and prepared to finally peruse the unexamined card, Emily glanced back. She said, "Thank you." A breeze, sweet and familiar, rushed past her cheek from the rustling leaves above, plainly imbued with affection. Greetings, esteemed viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina, and I hope your day is going splendidly. If you like the video, please remember to subscribe to the channel.